Hello, hi, it's Jason here, Jason Pegler, owner of the social enterprise Chipmunkapublishing, and I'm here to firstly, I'd wish everyone watching this, listening to this, the best mental health possible. And what I really want to say is I'm really excited about a seminar that I'm running. And what's it called? Well, it's called How to Be a Successful Author. Of course, everyone who is an author, who writes a book, who wants to write a book, who wants to be published, wants to be successful. And at the end of the day, it's something it's not rocket science, but it's also something that's very difficult. At the end of the day, you are at the mercy always of what people think of your book, and you know how relevant is it to the world today, and all this kind of thing. But what I've learned over the years is that I've managed to make a living from writing one book and then turning myself into a brand, i.e. with Chipmunka, an expert on bipolar and mental health, talking about cannabis, talking about alcohol, drug related issues, talking about so many things to do with mental health and mental illness and things like that. And what I really want to do is to encourage other people to, okay, so you may have written something and it may be good, it may be really good. There's always a subjective opinion, but I think I've really definitely aware of strategies that you can do in your future books that can help make your future books more relevant, i.e. thinking about the relevant market, looking at the world of publishing and how it's changing, how everything's becoming more search orientated with the big monoliths, Google, Apple, Amazon, and how there's opportunities out there. Of course, we have the world credit crunch, but more and more people are online, more and more books are out there, so it's more and more competitive, but more and more people are becoming online, more and more people on the planet speaking English and other languages, of course. But there's definitely space there, and mental illness, mental health as a subject, as an issue, whilst the stigma breaks down, it becomes bigger all the time, and it becomes more and more popular, more and more common. People are more and more open about it, so there's more and more opportunity there. Now, most people don't write a book. A lot of people think about writing a book. So if you've written something, or this seminar really is for people who want to write a book, and want some tips on not just what kind of book to write, but really about how to promote yourself, how to promote your book, one book, and then how to promote yourself as a brand, as an individual, how to grow your own client list, portfolio, influence, how to get media coverage. And a lot of people can read about how to promote yourselves, but what percentage of people, they might know what to do because they've read about it, but what percent of people are going to implement that? Okay, some people might implement it 5, 10, 15% of the time, 1% of the time, 20% of the time, 50% of the time. But what percentage of people implement it 90% of the time? Well, in order to do that, if you look at the world's most successful people, like people like Richard Branson, people like that, they just act on it, they just go for it. People like that don't hold back, they just make a decision and go for it, and they learn from their mistakes and they keep going. And being a successful author is a bit like that. and looking to push your boundaries. But also, in order to, some of us aren't naturally like that because we cannot break through the fear. We might procrastinate and then feel like, oh, I've written a great book or a good book, and then, but does anyone really want to read it? I'd like to be, I'm daydreaming with the idea of being an expert and being really successful, but then I'm not prepared to take all the steps to go along the way and to have embraced so many failures, and I'm not prepared to rip open every day and really go for it, and I work on it one day a week or something like this. It takes real commitment and a lot of energy. And in this seminar, I'm include strategies where you can get yourself more in a peak state. So exercises where, by putting yourself in a peak state, then it's really important, to get your body in a peak state, get your confidence up, get your oxygen flowing, get your mind right, so that when you do take the time to work on your writing, on your promotion, on your communication, your selling techniques, that you really do feel full of confidence, like that you can really make a success of it. Because how you speak to people, the tonality of your voice that you use, if you sound more positive in a meeting, if your physiology is stronger, all these kinds of things, the words that you use, they're all important, and the communication tools that you use, it's all really important in getting yourself to become successful. So even in your mind, if you're sending an email to the media about, oh, well, I would like to be interviewed on my subject OCD, and I think I would, I think that I would like to do an interview, and I think I can help. Well, how convincing is that? You really need to describe what you've experienced, make it relevant, noticeable, and explain why they should interview you over somebody else. What's specific about your message is important and interesting. What about your book is particularly interesting. And that's the great thing about books, is because they have so much depth, and especially when you're writing a memoir, you can pick out, you might just think, oh, this is a memoir on depression. But if I look at A Can of Madness, like my memoir, when I wrote it, I thought, this is a book about the XC generation. I'll write it, it will become a bestseller, and it will show an example of what can happen to a teenager if they can't handle their ease. Right? And it turned into this kind of mental health crusade of helping people with manic depression. And whilst I was aware of that whilst writing it, I thought that was kind of more of a cathartic thing for me, for my own survival, really. And although I really, really wanted to help another 17-year-old to stop them having the humiliation that I had from mental illness, as the years have gone by, A Can of Madness the media have interpreted its relevance in ways that I hadn't imagined, and each time they've picked up on that, I've managed to articulate myself in that specific area, so they come back to me again and again and again and again on the same topic. So I'm just trying to think back now. So when I first started getting a lot of publicity in 2001, it was kind of under the bracket of the charity of Mind, because they helped me, help give me a voice, and help give me a grant to self-publish the book. And it was under the idea of, okay, I had my publishing company, so I had a mental health publishing company, but A Can of Madness per se was really a book about how writing had saved my life. That was the story. Writing had saved my life, and that was the kind of angle that I think Comic Relief might have been the first people that picked up that angle, and then that angle kind of like ran for ages through all the national charities, and Mind picked up the Mind Had Saved My Life, and I did like Comic Relief, Sane Rethink, or Mental Health Practice, Young Minds, Diverse Minds, Open Minds, British Council of Disabled People, just lots and lots of different angles. And then the first time, I'm trying to remember now, the first time I was on national radio, it was a 30-minute interview with 2 other people. There were 3 of us about bipolar. So then it, as like Can of Madness, became a book about bipolar, and I was talking there about depression and mania, and reviewers were picking up that they really liked the way that I'd written about mania in particular. That the way A Can of Madness describes mania is like kind of unique in a really a way that really hadn't really been seen before in many ways, and a very good insight into. Also, people were saying, "Oh, it's a really good insight." And like my psychiatrist, when he wrote forward, his angle was, this book is an example of someone fighting for survival, and trying to overcome things that come in his way. But it was also a warning about how mental health treatment can go the wrong way, and a warning to staff to stay on their toes and to improve their services. So that led to lots of coverage in psychiatric publications, even like nursing magazines, social work magazines. I ended up giving talks for the police. So you can see how one book can have hundreds of different angles in it, especially a memoir. And the same can apply to poetry and things like that as well, because there's so many different types of poetry, and you can get compared to other types of poets and what they stand for and the themes they're writing about and things like this. So it applies to other genres as well. It's best for me to talk about memoir because that is what I've done so much coverage on. So if you just stay in this mindset, then when we did a campaign with Rethink quite a long time ago, this is in about 2004, and when the head of marketing guy there at the time, he said, "Look, I've read this book. This book is really a book about teenagers and cannabis." Never really thought of it like that. And then, so that's how his angle he saw. So he promoted a national campaign to promote it like that. And then that theme came back later. So that kind of dropped for a while. And I was asked to give a BBC interview on government legislation and the dangers of cannabis. Well, they were thinking of changing the legislation. I was living in Lambeth at the time, and they were they were saying, well, really, it's okay to walk around with cannabis, so we can focus on hard drugs and things like that. So they asked me for an opinion, and I was saying that, look, if you start taking cannabis, then it's a stepping stone to other drugs, like it was for me. As soon as I took cannabis, I thought, right, okay, that's one illegal drug I've taken, what's next? Because you get a bit of a buzz off it and you think, right, what's next? So it led to, like, in the order I did them, probably, amphetamines, then LSD, then ecstasy, things like that. So, and just from that angle alone, talking about cannabis on television several times, but I've talked on cannabis on national radio about cannabis, I would say at least 50 times, just from that one angle. So it shows if you can do something well, and the media know you're available. So if they could ring me up, they know that they could ring me up the night before, and I was prepared to come on TV the next day, whatever. And I had a track record of doing that again and again, and they know that they could phone me up in the morning at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, and they knew that I would be on the radio that morning. I was prepared to go in the studio for 9:30. And how did I get into that position? Well, it's not as though they just happened to stumble upon my book and think, oh yeah, that's a good book, we'll get that guy in, and then I spoke about it once well and it happened. I really pushed to get myself in that position. So how did I get into all these, places, meet all the people to get in all the, the national charity coverage? Well, I went to conferences, I spoke to the heads of the charities, the chief executives, the trustees. I would, give them my business card, or make them buy my book, or maybe even give them my book. And I'd say, yeah, I'm the man to speak to about this, and this. I'm your man. Interview me for your newsletter. You can have the content for free. Just give me some coverage and link to my website to sell my book and things like that. And it was a case of every day pushing it. And I used to live in Vauxhall, and it's right next to the Big Issue office. And they used to come in the pub where I used to work part-time in the pub, and they used to come in there, so I would be chatting to everyone there, like saying, oh yeah, I really want to go in the Big Issue. And then by the time the book came out, that's exactly what happened. I got a big double-page spread in the Big Issue. It was, great. Oh, mental health publisher, and then of course that led to other things. And then, so originally I'd kind of met, some of the words of the Big Issue, then met the press officer, then met the chief executive, then met the co-founder, and then got introduced to the guy who came up with the idea for it, who owns it. So, but each way it was pushing the boundary to say, yes, I want to be more well known. Okay, or not just want to be more successful, but I have a burning desire to be more well known and to get my message out there, because I believe that I have a message to tell the world. So it's not like, okay, so I'm going to write this amazing book, and okay, if you can write an amazing book and you can get a deal with a big publisher, then God bless, and you can contact me and give me some advice. You're welcome. But that doesn't happen for most people. That I would say 1 in 1,000 if you're lucky. Even and that is so competitive. And even then, most books will bomb. Even that they do, most books aren't. Even if you do well and you get a notoriety, you're not going to make a living per se out of being an author. There's only a handful of people in the world like that, like J.K. Rowling, Stephen King, people like that. Even people that I would assume that I've met a lot of famous authors, people I would have assumed would be making a lot of money from writing. They have told me face to face, they have, just their royalties is peanuts, really, in many ways. Okay, they might get an advance, but it's not enough to live on year on. It's just not. They have to subsidise it with other businesses. They might be an editor, literary agent, or they might, do consultancy, give talks, and all the rest of it. And even then, it's a constant battle to grow their business, right? How do you think people like Tony Robbins get so successful at doing their seminars? Do you think that guy just turns up and 11,000 people just turn out and think, yeah, I'll see Tony Robbins today? That guy is constantly, every day, doing blogs. He's got teams of people behind him. He's relentless in his pursuit of getting his message out there to the world. And this is what all the most successful people are. So in this seminar, How to Be a Successful Author, these are great events, okay? So find what you're about, what stage you're at. So you're going to explain, what stage you're at, what goals you are, and then I'm gonna tell you everything that I know about how to become as successful as you can as an author. And that is a little bit on how to write the book, and some good tips on what to title the book, and even how to promote what you've already written, and then loads of other information about how to promote yourself as a brand, the best way to do your website for free, the best way to do all your social networking for free, the best way to get yourself traditional, national and media coverage, the best way to integrate your social networking, all the benefits of doing different types of products. It's going to be, and you have to write, just write and take as many notes as you can, and just take everything in. And the day after the seminar, read your notes, read them a week after as well, and a month after, and then you'll just collect more information and act on it as well, because you can say, you can read all you want, but unless you act on it, nothing's going to happen, right? And the more you act, the more mistakes are going to happen. And what you have to do is to say, okay, something happened, it didn't work, and don't sit there in fear for a week or 2 or 3 or a month or a year or 3 years, or talk to your grandchildren later on in life and go, I could have been a successful author once. I wrote a book and then started promoting it, and then no one wanted it, and it was I give up. Do you think your grandchildren want to hear that? Because I know mine don't. I don't have any yet, but they're not going to want to hear that. And they might hear, I could have been a professional rugby player if I could have been bothered. But unfortunately, that's something I do talk about every now and then. So, if I hadn't gone bipolar at 17, I would have been a professional rugby player. But it was all amateur by then. I don't want you to talk to your grandchildren about how you can be a successful author. If you come to this seminar, you can pick up some tips and implement some strategies like you never have before, and you can take yourself to the next level. And of course, there's levels all the time that we can go through. Like, I push myself every day, and there's levels I want to go through all the time. And you'll find as well that even Bill Gates, right, who quite comfortably the richest man in the world for a long time, and still would be if he hadn't given so much money away. He has a burning mission now to get as many, to leave a legacy of philanthropy. He's totally driven by it. You think that the biggest company in the world by an absolute mile. Would you think that guy would want to break? No, he's not like that. It's in his DNA. And if you're listening to this as well, then there's probably some of that of you as well. That you want to be a bit different. You want to come out on your own a bit, even if writing, being an author, is a hobby for you. And you've got another job. It's something that obviously is important to you, or you wouldn't be watching this. And you may think, look, I really have a message I can give back to other people who have my condition, or whatever. So I'm really excited about this event. I really want you to come and tell people about it as well. And it's great. I love meeting people. I do love technology as well, but I'm a very sociable person, so I can, if I'm having a coffee somewhere, or wherever I am, I'm quite naturally, I go up to people and start talking to them. So I think that will come across when at the seminar as well. So I'm very like to meet people as well, and just to give as much value as I can, really, because I really believe in what I'm doing, and I know that I've got an amazing amount of publicity, really, for someone that when I started off I didn't have any experience whatsoever in it, really. All I did is just had a conviction that people would be interested in what I have to say, because I believe that what I have to say is important, and I still do. And that's the end of the video, and I just wish you had to have a brilliant day. I'm off to the gym, okay? And like, please have a look at the seminar, click on the link, read about it, and I hope to see you there. Okay, take care, love you lots, look after your mental health. Bye. Oh, you still there? Saying goodbye.